Warning, this video may contain spoilers for late parts in the game. If you plan on playing this at some point, turn back now. You have been warned. I had some fun with this game, but overall there's a lot less in all directions than I thought there'd be. I know going in it'd be short, one of the reasons I had picked it actually, but I expected a bit more from what I heard about the game back when it came out. I loved the humor and didn't expect it to get as dirty as it is, but it was still interesting and caught me off guard when I saw that the game specifically flaunts what it's got. Let's get into the basics now. This game has you play as Juliet, a cheerleader who cuts through hordes of zombies in various locations with a chainsaw and the skills of her cheerleading. This basically runs on a type of combo system, with not having a whole lot at the beginning, only having 3 types of attacks: Y for chainsaw as well as A for low chainsaw attacks, then X for cheerleading attacks that are used to stagger enemies, leading to one-hit chainsaw kills, and finally B is used for dodging, which gives a very small invincibility frame. Throughout the game you collect coins with 2 different types, gold and the silver. Gold can be used to buy your combos, as you really only have base combos to start out with. Everything else you can buy, I'm gonna explain in the cons section. Juliet's day starts out like any other, though she realizes she's late to school, and on her birthday. As she arrives, she's surprised by the many zombies she sees around her school, but not for long as she razes through them with her trusty chainsaw. She goes further through her school, killing many of her zombified classmates, looking for a specific person. Her boyfriend Nick, who she finds but is tragically bitten by a zombie when he tries to protect her. Juliet is saddened before she remembers a way to save him and cuts off his head. Nick wakes up later, freaking out that he is now only a head, questioning how he can even talk, before Juliet explains that she used a magic ritual in order to keep him alive, also explaining shyly that she's a secret zombie hunter. Juliet then decides to find her sensei named Morikawa and heads further through her school, eventually meeting up with him. Morikawa tells Nick and Juliet what he thinks has happened, being that there are 3 different dimensions: the human realm, the world beyond, and the rotten world. He presumes that someone blew a giant hole between the human realm and the rotten world by using a combination of black magic and explosives. This caused gases from the realm to seep into the human one, transforming people into zombies with no way for them to return. Morikawa then jumps away, saying that the one person who did this is most likely outside. Juliet gets into shenanigans before meeting Morikawa outside, who lands boob first into Juliet. As he is knocked away by a mysterious figure Juliet makes out to be a fellow student named Swan, a megalomaniac emo who says that everyone should know hell and that he'll bring it upon them. He summons 5 dark purveyors from the rotten world, which Morikawa attempts to stop, landing once more in Juliet's boobs in dire condition. One of the dark purveyors comes out of the ground using literal words to throw her to a junkyard where he is having a concert for a bunch of zombies. Juliet jumps through the junkyard, eventually coming to fight the dark purveyor who had sent her there, Zed, a punk rock zombie who she cuts in half multiple times before he finally expires, chanting mysterious Latin words as he turns into mist. Morikawa comes in struggling to show Juliet where he assumes the other dark purveyors are before dying. He wakes up at second to give Juliet a gift for her birthday before actually dying, an expansion to her chainsaw, going to the world beyond. Juliet then heads to the stadium, meeting her sister Cordelia along the way before facing off with the death metal Viking purveyor Vikey, taking him down along with his ship, where he too turns into a mist, spouting some Latin nonsense. Juliet heads to the abandoned farm and spots her sister Rosalind, who almost murders her as she is driving a bus without the use of the brakes. Juliet follows her sister throughout the farm, trying to protect her in her haywire bus, eventually getting the bus to stop, where Juliet gets in but notices her sister is acting stranger than usual, turning out to be the dark purveyor Mariska, who had taken over Rosalind's body, putting her in a deep sleep. Juliet defeats the hippie zombie, who also says some Latin words before she gets a mysterious auto-tuned call saying that he has her sister, and if Juliet can beat him, he'll give her back. She travels to the Fulci Fun Center, a giant arcade-filled building, and comes upon her dad. She comes up with a plan for her dad to go to the back for a surprise element, and she will become the distraction up front. She pushes through everything that is thrown at her before she makes her way to the top, meeting with the 80s-fueled zombie Josie, who eventually begins to flee in a giant UFO, though Juliet pulls no punches and defeats him, though he refuses to free Rosalind from her prison on the bottom side of the UFO. Juliet doesn't know what to do, but she gets a call from her dad informing her that he rescued her sister, bombing the underside, and Juliet finished the dub on Josie, cutting him apart like the rest, him speaking Latin just the same. The entire family then meets up near the cathedral where they presume the last purveyor to be, and Nick decides that he doesn't want to live anymore, but Juliet refuses and goes into the cathedral, where eventually Nick softens a little, though they come upon Swan, who laughs at their arrival as the final dark purveyor. Louis Legend jumps in, but Juliet makes short work of him. He too shouts the Latin words, causing Swan to laugh even more, revealing his whole plan for Juliet to kill 5 predetermined zombies from the rotten world to sacrifice himself, shouting Latin at their deaths to summon the zombie of zombies onto the world. He says that he's done all this because Juliet betrayed him somehow, which isn't totally explained unless he means that she betrayed him by going out with Nick instead of him. He grabs Louis' leftover guitar that has a shotgun and kills himself, becoming one with the giant zombie that begins to be created through all the zombies that Juliet had killed. She goes to the center of San Romero, the city she lives in, and gets a call from the world beyond, turning out to be Morikawa, giving tips on how to beat the now named zombie of zombies, Killabilly. She eventually gets up to the ginormous zombie, fighting for her life, before her father rides in on a motorcycle strapped with a bunch of explosives, sacrificing himself for the cause, and riding straight into the zombie's face, blowing a giant hole into it. Upon her dead sacrifice, Juliet gives up, but is provoked by Nick to continue on, with Morikawa explaining that she needs to kill him from inside. As she jumps into his face hole, she comes upon his heart with Swan's decapitated body attached to it. Morikawa further explaining that she needs to activate its self-destruct mechanism. Nick volunteering to sacrifice his life for the greater good, as with the magic ritual that Juliet did on Nick, she can attach his head to other bodies with no head. She begrudgingly attaches Nick's head, and he self-destructs the disgusting zombie. Nick's selfless sacrifice for the world has the higher-ups of the world beyond allow Nick to live on, though Morikawa says there was a mix-up. Nick returns as the dust settles, running to hug Juliet before he realizes the mix-up was that he received Morikawa's body instead of his own. Juliet laments about her father before he too shows up with the rest of her family, and they all happily return home to Mom, who turns out to be a zombie. That's the bad ending, but the good ending is just her giving Juliet a birthday cake. I think the biggest pro for this game is the humor and the fact that it doesn't take itself super seriously, even flat out joking about plot holes and stuff. The gameplay is fun, rewarding you for trying new things throughout the levels, learning new moves, giving a lot of replayability to each level. Most of the characters are fun as well, with a small cast of characters in the first place. The soundtrack is incredible throughout the game and really puts you in the zombie killing mood in each level. Sadly, there are cons aplenty. I went into this game knowing it would be short, about 6 hours, so I can't complain much on that front, especially since I didn't 100% the game. Though, while I said gameplay was fun at times, it was frustrating, as it seems that I'd get staggered a lot, needing to mash B to get up, which got annoying really fast. I can blame that on lack of skill for the most part, but some things seemed undodgeable, leading to mashing B, especially with the police zombies, which were the worst to me. While there is replayability, there really isn't all that much to do besides getting high scores for the levels, as the only extras there are, which I'm not doing an extra section for the game, is saving all the students, that nets you the good ending, buyable extra moves, a collectible Lollipop thing that does nothing, buyable outfits, buyable music, buyable art, and finally buyable stat boost for Juliet. This sounds like a lot on the surface, netting replays for 2 types of currency, with the currency needed to buy outfits, music, and art, requiring high-level play, or just replaying the levels until your fingers hurt, for stuff to me isn't really worth it, considering you've already beaten the game multiple times by that point. Maybe just call me bad at the game overall, or just a complainer, but these are my thoughts directly after beating the game. If you can get the game for like $10 or so, go ahead and get it, because it is a fun play, at least the first time through for me. Alright, hope you enjoyed, and see you next video.